There we go. Can you still hear me?
I can. It says I'm on air.
You are, but no, the thing that people are seeing is this screen. So, oh. Why did they do that to me? There, now we're unmuted. Now,
Hello.
I get it. I get it now. Because on the other scene, I muted us here, but I didn't mute us on the other scene, and then I muted us on the other scene, but not this scene. So now I know what I did wrong.
Okay, well, this is a really different one, like different view than I had last time. So I see you in like a big screen, and I see me down in a little box. And it says you're on the air, but I can't see us like side by side last time, or the comments like I saw last time.
Well, maybe I need to turn on the comments because I haven't turned that on. I don't know. I don't know why I can't see you, or why you can't see the both. Because what the people are seeing is just two friends.
What the people?
Are
just
sitting,
two friends.
Two friends sitting side by side. You know, floral blouse and a frilly something.
This is like really cute. But the back, let me show you because I think it's important for people to see how terrible my tan lines are.
Cute, cute, cute.
So I'm working on that.
Big shout out to our friends who are watching us live. We do this most every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So, hey to Rachel, hey Philip, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're hanging out. If you're watching this live, go ahead and leave us a comment. If you're listening to us later on the podcast, leave us a comment also and tell us what you think about the show. You know?
Ooh, and rate and subscribe because that's really helpful for us as well, which is so fun because our numbers have been growing. You people are so great to listen to us just chat.
Yeah. I mean, and also, I mean, what do you mean just? We're not just chatting, Sarah. We're providing helpful information. We are Your Favorite Ants, which is a podcast that seeks to become your favorite ants. Yeah, we expect to be your favorite podcast. We expect to be your favorite ants. We expect a lot of things from you. And
when I age, I expect to be able to live in your home.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that.
No, seems right.
What are you sipping on today? I want to know.
Actually, so I am sipping on red wine by Snoop Dogg.
Yes, 19 Crimes or 99 Crimes?
19, yeah.
I love 19 Crimes. It's so good. I've had it myself.
Right. Yeah, so I'm having iced tea as well, and then I also poured myself some wine just to
balance it out. I also sought to balance out what I was drinking, so I poured some white wine up to here in my mason jar, and then I poured that much on the fizzy water on top. To make it like a little spritzer.
A little spritzer? Stop.
Make it with LaCroix, so you know it's gay.
You need to like have some sort of garnish. You know what? We need to have Colby on here. Colby knows how to garnish a drink.
Colby knows how to do. Colby is. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I have a big crush on him, like professionally, personally, and I mean, I know his wife knows. This is probably not uncommon.
No, it happens, I'm sure, all the time.
Yeah, so. But yeah, Colby is really like a dude's dude. And I like
Colby Martin, guys. Check him out. So, again, this podcast is a podcast that is about answering questions, is a podcast about how do we support each other. It's just like your favorite ants sit around, they have a drink.
Yeah.
They talk to you about life, and then they tell you their opinion. But we usually start out by how your ant would start out by asking each other and our viewers, how the hell are you doing, Kevin?
So, me, and also if you're watching this, tell us how the hell you are in the comments.
I can't see the comments this week for some reason, so you're gonna have to be in charge of that.
That's fine. I don't know why. We'll
figure it out. We're new to this.
Yeah. Anyways, how am I doing? Overall, I would say I'm doing quite well. I'm a little overwhelmed by the amount of work that I have said yes to because I sometimes say yes to too many things. But like, I am also like so happy to have something to do, like to be busy. It's one of those things where like I'm busy with all things that I want to be busy with. Like I didn't say yes to a bunch of shit thinking it was going to be overwhelming. I said yes knowing that it was going to be a little bit challenging, but I feel like I know that I can do it. I've done it before. So it's just a lot of balancing things, a lot of doing things myself, specifically putting a tour together, and trying to get
Which is going to be incredible.
It's very exciting. Austin tickets are available, LA tickets, and I'm excited to share, if you haven't seen my Instagram story, that our dear friend Brenda Marie Davies is going to be one of the other speakers at Wonderfully Made LA, along with Rachel, oh my God. Rachel Held Evans is going to be there in spirit, we know.
Always love.
Sarah,
Always
Reverend Sarah
love.
Heath, is also going to be there speaking. Maybe you've heard of her. Have you heard of her?
I've heard of her. She sounds great.
Yeah, wonderful gal. Um,
Um,
but yeah,
so
so
overwhelmed.
yeah, a little overwhelmed, but like mostly happy. Like I have a hard stop. I like again, I'm still working on my thing of like I only do 3 projects a day.
I love
Uh,
that.
because I can't do any more than that. So granted, like it takes longer to get things done, but also like I'm not as overwhelmed as I used to be. So I also feel like my
Right.
skin is also like looking pretty good today. I didn't put any makeup on, just maybe some brows, but like I'm pretty happy with how I'm feeling right now. So
It looks great.
yeah, how are you, Sarah? How the hell are you, friend?
This week has been one where I spent some time yesterday doing nothing, which is
Hmm.
really hard for my personality. And um, I have got a lot on my plate too. Some stuff that I'll be able to talk about next week, but can't talk about this week. NDAs. So I've been working on this thing that I've been working on will end next week. And so that's kind of been just sitting with me heavily. And then I think I shared last week, I listened to
Oh,
this
you get
podcast,
to talk. You're gonna be talking about the thing that you can't
the
talk
thing
about.
thing, the thing I
Oh, the
can't.
thing. Right. Okay. And I know that
Yeah.
sounds very vague. I don't know what you're talking about for sure.
No, you are on my board. You can know what I'm talking about.
Oh, you had
But
to have a Neato.
yeah, you were. If I told you, then you were part of the NDA. But
Great.
so that's going to come to an end next week, which is a lot of pressure and great and good, and I'm excited because it means that I can start moving into the next phase for me, which is that July and August I'll be living in Bend, Oregon, to work on an Airstream.
Oh.
But before that, guys, I get to do my final service at my church that I adore, but I'm ready to, give the reins to someone else. And I get to speak at an event with you, which I'm so excited because this week was one of those things where you kind of gave us the topic of wonder. And God, the universe, however you want to say it, has been putting like all these wonder
Mhm.
things in my head. And so I've already
Maybe
got this
some
like
wonderful
huge
things.
wonderful. Yeah, so that's all been popping up. But yesterday I just shut down. And then I think last week shared that I listened to a podcast about women who have ADHD. And I was diagnosed 2 years ago with ADHD as well as having OCD. OCD I was diagnosed with in college after an eating disorder. And I've read and listened to so much content in the last 3 days about ADHD.
Hmm.
And I'm both feeling seen and also I think it took me a long time to accept that this is how my brain works.
Yeah.
And the person that I've been listening to lately is saying that it is not, don't think of it as a disorder, just a difference. And I
Yeah.
think I don't say it lightly when I say your friendship and some other folks in our lives who live with ADHD have taught me so much about. I have lived in shame about how my brain works and overcompensated in some pretty like gnarly ways. Perform, and
Hmm.
learning all this sort of stuff. So there's this 13. They send this thing to you when you sign up for this group of badass women who have ADHD. There's 13 things that are true of people who have ADHD, and I got to tell you, the 13th one made me giggle so hard. It said people who have ADHD look 10 years younger usually. And that is what the feedback I often get is that I look a lot younger than I am. So I'm going to take that. So ADHD, you
Mm.
are difficult, but you have given us that.
Man, maybe it's because like our brain is just burning off all of something, and so just like I keep sort of, rather than like if you're a nasty person, it comes out as but really if you're just your
It
brain.
says that it's because we're young at heart and we're always curious and we often are very
Oh, so it's
active.
not like a scientific thing. It's just like maybe. Is that just like a statistic?
No, it is a statistic that is a
Interesting.
scientific statistic, but they're trying to figure out why. So they're saying that
Oh,
potentially it's because we are young at heart and we like engage in curiosity and activity, and so
so it's
activity
like
causes.
there's a correlation, but we don't know the causation.
Correct. Yes, scientist.
Listen, sometimes I know a few words here and there.
I'm impressed. Anyway, all that to say, yesterday when I was feeling like I wasn't getting a lot done, I had a moment where I just said, you know what? This is where you're at right now. And you have had external voices telling you to go, go, go your entire life. And now it's time for you to learn that you are going to listen to
Hmm.
your own inner voice. And my own
Say
inner voice
that.
yesterday said, what is primary for you right now is you had 2 meetings in the evening and you showed up for those and you were present to those and you were ready. And I feel like today I'm going to get a lot of stuff done. all that to say, I also feel overwhelmed, and it's hard, and yet I feel like it's necessary. That's a lot of words. You have your knife again.
Yes.
Dear goodness.
I just want to cut the cords to stress in our life. Cut them!
Yeah. But here, actually, the knife is a great introduction because usually what we like to do is we begin by asking, has anyone answered the question of how they are?
We have a few people. Rachel says, glad it's Friday. Needs a hot bath when they get home.
I just took one.
Listening to y'all while they're typing at work. Well, hopefully we don't get you in trouble for listening to us at work. Jeff says, just finishing up some chili and cinnamon roll prep. Wait, is the chili with the cinnamon roll? Just wanted to see his...
Are you...
You know what I'm saying?
Food prepping? Like, yeah, like, do those things go together? I feel uncomfortable about that. But also, like...
No Sade if you like it. And Katie apparently is child-free right now and will totally be someone's aunt or grandma and can totally come visit. And, wow, you're really opening up a whole lot, Katie, to, like, strangers on the internet. Wow. But if you've got the heart for it, hospitality is a gift.
It is a gift. I'm glad to hear that everyone's doing all right. And at least, you know, if you're at work and you're listening to us right now, if you want to put your boss on, we'll tell them how great you are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Please do. But yeah, so people, we're glad that you're here. Now we have the point. We've come to the point in the show where we have some things to talk about. This is a part of the show called the airing of grievances, and at some time in the future, we're gonna have a fun sound or something, and maybe a transition that plays.
We need a sound. Also, your knife is helpful, but we need like a sound.
Mm-hmm.
Can
you what, Sarah?
Can I launch it off? Can I say the thing?
Yeah, Sarah, you can launch it off. You can launch it off.
I don't know. I say words sometimes. Firing squads. What the actual F? We are
context.
having firing squads again?
Context. Nobody knows what you're talking about.
I know. I'm sorry. I just had to get that off my chest, and now I'll say what it is. So, because they are unable to have states that still have the death penalty don't have the supplies to be able to do the death penalty in the way that's often been done, which is through lethal injection. And so now they're bringing back firing squads.
Mm-hmm. In South Carolina, I think it is.
South Carolina is the first one that has passed that, but there are others that are suggesting the same.
And there's also, I believe the ACLU is already suing.
It's the statistic of how many people are on death row that are not, that are innocent. Like the idea of shooting. Anyway, so there it was.
You just
I got
what?
Really fired up about
what
that.
do you feel?
I just get so frustrated because it's usually these people who are so pro-life and yet they'd be willing to shoot somebody. Like, what is the point where you no longer care about life? When is it?
See, now that is what you needed to say, Sarah. Not just, I don't know.
Point a knife at me. Well,
no, I'm not pointing a knife at you. I'm emphatically gesturing.
Okay, perfect. Point is this, friends. I am actually against the death penalty for lots of reasons, and we can get into that. But I'm particularly against this version of the death penalty.
I am against the death penalty because it is stating that that person is beyond redemption. And that's not my goal or rule. Like, I'm not allowed to say that. I am also somebody who is for the abolition of prisons, and imagining a different kind of state where we create houses of rehabilitation versus imprisonment, and figuring out how to reintegrate people into society. And people say that that's a mad and crazy thing, but you know what?
Other countries are doing it, and they're doing it really well. And I come from one of those.
Prisons do not help stop crime. In fact, they just traumatize people and send them back out into the world after traumatizing them for how long?
Which then creates someone who is incapable and sometimes incapable of re-entering, incapable of living anything other than a trauma person who causes trauma on others. Like, hello. So, whew.
And it feels very simple. Or it should be.
All right, so you want to talk about the next one?
So are you done? Is it concluded?
I am. I'm concluded my grievance.
How did that feel? My favorite part is when you just said, And I also think it's important to point out how oftentimes the people who are in favor of this would call themselves pro-life. Would call them, and the thing is just like, you don't actually care about someone's life. You care. You've been fooled.
You're pro-fetus.
Yeah, you are pro cell in a human body. Like, you care more about one cell in the human body than the woman who got raped. Frankly.
Mm-hmm.
You don't care about the, and also you don't care about that baby after it pops out of the womb. You don't give a shit about that. Like, you won't vote for like, you know, any sort of
healthcare
increases to help. You won't vote for healthcare. You won't vote for universal childcare. You won't vote. You're not voting for this child. You're voting to control bodies. And what this does is it perpetuates a system of poverty.
Well, and the thing that I think is really important for everybody to note, whenever the abortion is more outlawed, by the way, Mississippi's going after it, my home state.
Oh my God, so's Texas.
And here's the deal. That doesn't actually stop abortions. There are statistically more abortions. They're just not done well, and they're not like people are harmed. There's also the fact that those who are wealthy still get their little problems taken care of. It's
it doesn't. If you are rich, if you have money, you will always figure out a way to get yourself taken care of because you can pay for the health care. But if you make it illegal, and like, here's the thing, like, tougher abortion laws don't cut down on abortions. Sex education, comprehensive sex education, and access to contraceptives is what makes abortion numbers go down, because you get the number of unwanted pregnancies down, which is the thing that you want.
Right.
Okay. But what do we know? We just look at the data and statistics and, like, you know, draw a conclusion that's based on logic and reason. You know, small things.
My mom says in her cute little way, she says, some people will not be confused by the facts.
Absolutely. I will not be confused. Speaking of being confused by the facts, there was a pastor over this past week who tweeted out, and I quote, in my experience as a pastor, people who leave the church do so because they want to have sex with someone that the Bible says that they can't. And
right.
I had two things about this. I also saw something about like someone saying like the deconstruction phenomena. And like I guess this is just kind of like
phenomena. Sorry.
Exactly. I think this is kind of like a read / a kind of just a grievance against like all of these churches and the gospelcoalition.com, you know, starting to like co-opt, you know, deconstruction language and experience and say, no, this is actually what you're going through. You don't fucking know what I've gone through. You've also not been here. Also, why do you think that I care what you like? I think it's twofold. On the one hand, I don't care what you think, but what's funny is that the way that people react is if they do care what this one pastor thinks. So this is like twofold. It highlighted
say that again.
It highlighted for me, this person's out of their depth. This is very annoying. This is not pastoral. This is not kind. This guy really doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's like saying something harmful. The reason people are leaving the church, there's not a phenomenon. I put this on Twitter or Instagram today. It's not a phenomenon. It's actually, it just makes sense. We see what's happening because the church has done people dirty, and that's why they're leaving. Point blank, period. But what was interesting to me is
it sound like people don't have minds.
Yeah, you make the people who leave the church are fucking idiots. They don't know what they're doing. I'm like, you know, your recruitment numbers are already bad. So like, but like the thing about the thing that got me though is it got me thinking was like, okay, why are we reacting to this pastor who has a couple thousand followers? He's in the middle of Tennessee. I think it was like Lebanon, Tennessee is where his church is.
I know where Lebanon is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he doesn't actually affect your life. Like, this person actually does not have the power to hurt you. But the way that we react sometimes on the internet, and again, I'm not saying that the reaction is wrong. I'm just saying it's data to respond to. Because
do you think it's because it's trauma?
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm leading
towards. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that
Sorry.
pastor reminds you of somebody in your past. They're saying the exact same things as someone in your past. It's the internal
Yeesh.
monologue that you are still telling, that you still have going on, where you still feel shame, and that person triggered your shame. And so what you have to do is recognize that what he's saying is irrelevant. Like, why? This is
Mm.
something my mom said to me when I was really young, when someone was making fun of me at school. Now, granted, I think that there could have been maybe a slightly more compassionate approach, maybe, but it really stuck with me. It was just like, what's that kid saying at school? Is it true? Well, no. Well, then why do you care? And it seems like so simple, but it really did inform just like, A, we do need to care because we do need to speak out against injustice. But also, I think I wonder if there is like how many of us are reacting from our trauma rather than responding to just somebody who's speaking poorly. And I also think that like the more you retweet and interact with someone, the more traumatic shit gets in front of other people. So why not? I mean, this is the, and this is like, my push and pull, because I'm also somebody who like, I love to get into it with people on the internet, but like I'm having this shift recently. I'm just like, I think we should stop paying attention to them. Stop paying attention to the idiots. Speak out when we need to, sure. But like, I think more than like speaking out against people, like we will have a movement. Just testify to your own life. Show up as yourself. Be like, you don't have to like fight against something that can't threaten you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that pastor came back and said, I'm talking about my experience. In my experience. And that was the reaction, right? In my experience, I have blah, blah, blah. And I think that in some ways that's good, right? Like it's good that he recognized like that it's coming from their experience. But again, it was said like a blanket statement.
No, he was, and the thing is like the way he was putting it was like, I think was like a little bit straw man. He's like, notice how I said it was my experience. It's really interesting how everyone's getting mad about my experience. I'm just like, no. What you did was kind of put this thing over there. No, you said in my experience, and then you made a statement as if it were a fact. You guys just like, if you did like, in my experience, a lot of people who leave the church do this thing. And then like, but you didn't ask a question. You didn't say, is this your experience? What do you think? It's one of those things where it's like, my experience, statement, no curiosity. It's not a both and. It's not a yes and. It's
Let's pause there with that moment of curiosity. I think that is the thing that is lacking in so many places is people make assumptions. They've decided this is the thing. And there's a lack of curiosity about the real, like about the person. There's a lack of curiosity about what people are saying. It's just like, I am saying this thing. And this is a little bit like, it almost reminds me, you'll love this. It almost reminds me of Britney Spears back in the day saying, I never asked to be a role model.
Hello.
Yeah, but you are. I never, as a pastor, I never thought that like my words would, ripple so much. I never thought. The truth is we know. I know that my words are different than other people's words at this point until I leave ministry, right? It's going to always.
Well, even after that,
like
even beyond that, I think just like when we recognize what power do we hold, it's a lack of recognition of power.
Yeah. Yep. So there it is. I think there's a couple of things that I want to just. I love what you said. This idea of like we're giving this person power, right? By retweeting, by getting super engaged in it. Whew, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think caregiving for other people sometimes looks like going after the person if you feel like they're harming other people. But if you can recognize in yourself, like, oh, okay, this is something I can step away from.
Yeah. And this is not saying like reacting to it is right or wrong. I'm saying what I'm experiencing now is I don't want to spend until
not reacting.
Until the evangelical church like dies out, there are going to be people saying stupid shit. So rather than like, and the question really is, what do I want to feel here? Do I want to feel peaceful, or do I want to let this feeling carry me away? And so for me, like, what I recognized, I actually waited. I did respond to him. Like, I tweeted back at him.
You did?
Yeah, but I didn't retweet. I didn't quote tweet it. But I just responded, and I was like, now I'm going to be done. And weird as it sounds, I prayed for him a little bit too. I said, Lord, open his eyes so that he could see what bullshit he's perpetuating.
I mean, I feel like that's actually that doesn't sound weird to me at all. It's a release, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've put out, Richard Rohr talks about this idea of like, what are we putting out into the world?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes other traditions use this idea of energy. What's the energy that we're creating? What are
Mm-hmm.
we doing? Are we creative? Or
Mm-hmm.
I love Dr. Robin calls this generative work.
Mm-hmm.
Are we creating or are we tearing down? So
Mm-hmm.
generative work in that moment was, okay, this is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with it. I'm done. And then I release it. And then I can go create what is something that might be seen in opposition of it. Like the truth of the matter is, yeah, people are leaving the church because they want to sleep with people in a way that is holistic and true to themselves
Hello.
and whatever. And if you can't create those spaces, then I don't even know the name of the pastor. I'm going to say Toby. That just feels right. I don't know his name.
Toby. Pastor Toby.
Doesn't that feel right? I think that there's just this sense of like, okay, all right. Now I can create a space where people who that comment was obviously subtweeted at, what I feel like is a good friend of his left his church and he needs a reason.
Ooh, you better call out his trauma, mama. He's like, who hurt you? Who hurt you?
That's my favorite thing to say to people. Who hurt you?
Yeah, it's
but
like, I bet you he had a gay friend who came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I bet you.
It's literally a subtweet. It's like a personal subtweet that should have been a conversation. That's the other thing. Don't tweet when it should be a conversation.
I've been guilty of it. It's not fun, especially when your friend texts you and say, hey, was this about me? Ooh, ain't nothing more embarrassing than that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, rather than do it, just tag a person. If you're going to do it, say it with your whole chest or don't say it at all.
Ugh. So the last thing I think we should talk about, realizing that we need to get into the question and answer period. But are you ready? It's a huge thing. Are you doing this online? You are eating?
I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm sorry.
I'm hiding my vegetables over in the corner.
And I'm over here eating pasta. But thank God I'm muting it. Otherwise, you would hear, like, the mouth sounds.
People might like that, though. I learned about that.
ASMR.
Thank you. ASMR.
Well, it's ASMR, but I call it ASMR.
Israel, Palestine.
Thank God for the ceasefire, but Jesus Christ, like, I hate it. Joe, you signed a $58 billion, million, like some giant ass like contract. Like literally, America is a war profiteer. America is a war profiteer state.
And not like, there's so much to say, and it's more, guys, it's more nuanced than our media tells us. I spent some time on the Gaza when I was in college studying conflict and peace, and I got to tell you, it was It was an incredible program where we heard from both sides, and it was incredible. And you realize how our media shows us people who are throwing rocks as terrorists versus against these like huge military thing. But then there's like all this history of what happened after post World War II and people trying to like caregive for people. Like it is way more messy than we like to think it is. And I need to say this. It's important to say it. Christians. Evangelical Christians who want to sign on to Zionism. We ain't bringing Jesus back. We are not bringing Jesus back. Also, you're claiming you're caregiving for Jewish people when you don't even think Jewish people are going to join you in the afterlife.
Yeah. They're
like,
literally just...
Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis pointed that out, and I was like, yes, exactly. So here's the deal. Get educated. Read from multiple sources. And then it's appropriate to get angry when our systems are continuing to perpetuate violence and not understanding that this is a long and difficult story. And one of them is incredibly a superpower with weapons and weaponized. And the other one is actually not. And also, for those of you who are like, yeah, but I just want to take the Christian stance. Who I stayed with when I was in Gaza were Palestinian Christians. Palestine is not a religion, it's a people group. And however you feel about that, there are various religions within Palestinian people. Just do the work of learning. Put yourself in the curiosity chair. Ask, is this what I think it is? Get curious.
And also, the thing about it is, is if anything this last year with the Black Lives Matter movement has taught Americans, people don't get in the street and protest for no reason. People do not engage in serious conflict without reason. I think that's what a lot of people like. They want to like just like, oh, they're just the terrorists are just terrorists because they believe in terrible things. It's like, no, people become extremists when they believe they have no other option left. And we can both say on both sides, do not killing kids, killing civilians. I mean, killing anybody. Like, you know, I am somebody who is as pacifist as they come. You know, frankly, I'm very, like, I grew up military, and I am against the military-industrial complex with all of my heart. I love my friends who are soldiers. I just hate anything that thinks that it has the power to destroy other people's lives. And it just, like...
And so when I was 20 and I was on the Gaza Strip, I was playing with these little kids and I was playing soccer, and they'd never like really seen a girl play soccer. And so I was sweating and sitting beside this little boy, and he had been shot in a crossfire situation. So he had bullet wounds on his thing. And then he was telling me about something, and his English was pretty good. He was talking about throwing rocks. And I remember I asked him, I said, "Why do you throw rocks at the soldiers?" And he looked at me in perfect English and said, "Sometimes when you're treated like a dog, you act like a dog." And I looked at him and I said, "You are not a dog." Friends, do your research. Understand that a lot of the soldiers that are in that area of the Gaza don't speak English. I'm sorry, don't speak Arabic. They don't speak the language of the people that they're supposed to be like policing. It is a trauma. It is a difficult place, and we are treating humans like dogs. And then we are surprised when they bark back. And so I would just invite you to learn a story. And thus ends the grievances.
Thus ends the
feelings today.
Listen, as people who I think that we are now moving into the realm of political, cultural, and celebrity commentary.
No, come back to me.
I'm here. Don't worry.
Oh, celebrity commentary. Tell me what your celebrity commentary.
No, I was saying that I think that our podcast is moving into the realm of like political and social commentary, and I think that's very interesting.
We were charting for a minute in, where was it, Australia on
relationship. Like anyways, not to completely change the entire mood, but to shift.
But also to change the entire mood.
But no, it's not to change the entire mood. It's just to engage in a separate topic, separate but equal. You know what I'm saying? What?
Oh, jeez.
Too much. This is the part of the show where you're asking your aunts, ask your favorite aunts, and so specifically today we were like, hey, let's talk about what does dating after the pandemic look like? What is dating now? Which again, like, is a big switch from what we got. So I also have a question in the inbox, not about that, but I do. So like 2 questions. We'll start off with dating after pandemonia, and then maybe we can get into this other question if we have time.
Great.
So the question I got in my inbox on my side is, do you have any tips for dating as a demisexual in a hookup culture world?
I feel attacked.
When that came up, I was like, ooh.
For those of you just joining the show, I discovered that there is a name for my sexuality.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm a demisexual.
Here's the thing. If you think you are, you probably are.
It's like red.
It's like, why? It's also just like, just like, he's like, I think I might be gay. I'm just like, girl, if you're wondering.
You is. So demisexual, from my understanding of it, is people who are not sexually attracted to people that they don't know really well, or don't. The thing is, I'm attracted to, but I don't want to engage in any sort of sexual behavior with someone who's not someone I know really well.
So demisexual people, from what I also understand, is like they don't usually, like, you can have a sexual attraction but not want to act on it. Like, it's like one of those things, they don't usually want to have some sort of sexual experience and might not even experience sexual attraction until they build a emotional connection with somebody. And usually it's from the emotional connection that the desires and desires to want to go further usually appear. And so as I was describing this to Sarah Louisa Jane Heath, I was like, hey, like, have you ever considered the possibility that you might be demisexual? And that also means,
like, I was like, I am not into Demi Moore. I'm just kidding. That was really
actually, the majority of people who are demisexual happen to be into Demi Lovato. It's different. I'm just kidding. Only into types who look like Demi Lovato. No, but like that was just something that I posed, and just like it's something that's like, it could be.
Yeah. What do you do? And especially like, so there's this great commercial. Mike and Judy McCarg showed me it the other day. It's for gum, and it has these people who are hearing for the first time that the restrictions are being lowered. And so they chew this gum, and then they run out into the street, and then everybody is making out with everyone. Have you seen this commercial?
Nope, because that sounds fucking insane to me, but also exciting.
It's really cute, and it's like, it feels like the first time or something. The song that's playing is so good, and they're like running, and then people are like running into their offices, putting on their work clothes, and like just screaming, and they're putting gum in their mouth, and like it's like one guy's eating like a rotisserie chicken, and he puts it down, he just like runs into the street, and I think that a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, this summer I'm gonna date like a crazy person, and then some people who are like, I never wanted to do that. I feel like that's what that question came from, maybe. Yeah,
well, it goes, I think when someone says hookup in a hookup culture world, is we are assuming, this goes again in assuming a norm, and something might be, so like, for example, casual sex might be understood to be a normative thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's normal, because normal is subjective. Normal is the moving target. So my suggestion is, if you want to date, you should go on a date. That's really it. And if you don't want to have sex with someone, you shouldn't have sex with them. Just kind of make that, you can make that clear in your dating profiles too as you're going along. Like, as you're talking to someone, if like the first thing they say is like, hey, let me get that coochie, like what you do is be like, nah, block, report, that's disgusting. I mean, like if you find that disgusting, then tell them, hey, I find that approach to women disgusting, and you should have more respect for a stranger.
Yeah. So one of the things that Kevin and I talked about last night is me trying to learn how to date again is hysterical. And what we think should happen is just I give different dating apps to different friends, and then they just control it, and then I just show up. Yeah,
we just show up for the date, and you.
And I mean, you'll probably be in my ear, like if
hopefully, like you'll have one ear in and say, "Oh, it's my hearing aid."
Sorry, hold on. Wait, I shouldn't say that. Do I say that to them?
No, what you got to do is you got to get like the AirPods Pro that have the like I don't know, like I don't know, just like they have the thing where it helps me hear.
Here's the best part is like I used to be good at dating. I was good in college.
Okay,
don't write in if you dated me in college. Okay, I used to like know what I was doing, and I feel like I'm relearning, and I think everyone's relearning.
Well, that's the thing is because again, we think that we're good at dating, and what is good at dating means I'm having fun. I'm going out and enjoying another person's presence. I'm enjoying being with them. That's what being good at dating means. You know, it's like the ability to just feel comfortable and in your own skin, in and of yourself, regardless of what somebody else across from you is feeling or doing or saying.
It's owning your space. It's owning. I think I want to also be honest that as we talked a little bit about deconstruction earlier, people who are coming out of a religious tradition where a lot of things were like the world does hookup culture.
Yeah.
You actually believe that the whole world does hookup culture.
That's not
true. And that only Christians are the ones who are not doing hookup culture. But the truth is that's not true.
Yeah. Shout out Carl Lentz, baby.
But I mean, also, like, there are lots of people in the world who don't have a religious background who are going to be okay with you saying, hey, this makes me really, I'm someone who moves slow, and they're also going to be someone who's okay with that. So I just want to encourage people who are coming out of something that makes them feel like, hey, I'm going to be the weirdo in this world that I don't understand.
And that's not necessarily true. It's like the fact is like every single person you meet is a weirdo in a world that they don't understand. Like that's the thing. Everyone is just as scared as we are, but we're just all. And also, there are some people who are having as much sex as you think they are. The majority of people are not. That's the thing. I think there's like this weird perception that everyone out there is just like, fucking like rabbits out there. But the fact of the matter is like the average like amount of times, like the average number of partners for people is like what, 8 or 9 over the course of a lifetime, maybe, probably less, unless you're a slut like me, which I am having as much sex as you think I am. It's not much, I can say so. No, but I did actually have a lovely encounter recently with a vaccinated gentleman. I love vaccinated life. Everyone should get vaccinated. That's my advice. Yes. That's my advice for dating as a demisexual person. Get vaccinated. And then you can do whatever you want. Or not.
I also think the advice, if we go back to the start, the advice is this. Be honest. With yourself, with other people.
Always.
I think we have learned how to, like, especially women, we learned how to, like, fit into certain boxes. Like, or even, like, I think about a couple of my friends in the queer community say, like, I really, like, I look at what queer men are expected to do, and I'm not that. And I'm like, expected to do from where? That one terrible movie, the one show.
From the Empire, from, like, there's 1,000, like, that's the thing. You're exactly right. And
then you have Schitt's Creek, where you see a couple who are, and not that monogamy has to be the way, but like you've got this thing that no one talks about that is beautiful and a different narrative, because the truth is there's a lot of different narratives out there. So the only story you have to worry about is your own, and the person that you're meeting. Like, you don't want the person who's not going to understand that you don't want to hook up with them right away. That is not your person.
Mm-hmm.
Ta-da!
I just want to say, Sarah, just make sure you remember your own advice too. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Guys, it has been.
But that's the best thing about, like, here's the thing, is that this is the reason I like doing the show with you, is because just like, we are becoming the kind of people who can follow our own advice now. And that's something like that's worth celebrating. That's growth, Sarah.
I'm growing. Look at me.
And not to get all Course in Miracles, but A Course in Miracles says that an idea is stronger when shared, both in the person who gives the idea and within the teacher of God themselves.
I love that.
So, I like that. We've got one question in the inbox I'd love to...
Do you want to dive? Yeah, because we don't have that much time. The question that someone had that I thought would be a good one to pull.
Hit it.
No, I think we answered it. It was really like, how do you address this whole idea of vaccination? It's the same as radical honesty. You just say, hey, I only want to spend time right now with someone who is vaccinated because...
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever.
Listen, if the person... Oh, yeah. So, like, vaccination, like, don't date people who aren't vaccinated. You could kill them. That's just... Hey, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I cannot go on a date with you because I could kill you. Or I could inadvertently, like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, what's the question on your inbox?
The inbox is actually not about dating, which I think is okay.
That's fine. We can shift again. Look at us. Growth.
So this comes from the ask your favorite ants at gmail.com inbox. And we're going to call this person Tallulah. And Tallulah asks... How do you start a conversation / find out if someone is in a similar situation, deconstruction and religious trauma? I don't bring up these topics with churchy people I grew up with just for my own peace. I don't have a desire or energy to get into it. Close friends on Insta gets used to a lot of... Wait. Close friends on Insta gets used a lot to avoid the judgment of other people. Okay, so on her Instagram, she sends it just to them to avoid...
she's guarding things. Got it.
Yeah, she's not sharing them publicly, just with close friends on Insta. Okay. I asked this because, as a kid, I had a best friend who was similar to myself, raised in the church, both homeschooled, same age. She moved out of the state several years ago, and we lost contact. But I get a vibe that she's not enmeshed with her family, who are still in the church we grew up in. I like to ask her about this stuff, but at the same time, I don't want to start anything triggering for her if she is in the space of religious trauma. But I also guess I'm scared that her reaction would be along the lines of churchy people that I'd rather not deal with. What would you do? Thanks, Tallulah.
You sit down beside them in a bench and you draw half a fish. Mm-hmm. And if they draw, I'm sorry.
you go up to them and like you say, "Hey, have you heard of the Romans Road?"
I think what you do is a little bit of self-disclosure.
Yeah.
And just see how safe it is. Start with something that's not going to hurt you if you say, like, where the rejection isn't going to.
Yeah.
Like, you got to know where.
Maybe you mention the podcast that you're listening to called Your Favorite Ants, where two, religious people talk about deconstruction. And they're like, oh, well, what's that? Oh, deconstruction is like when you start asking questions about your faith. And there's a lot of people out here who like, blah, blah, just explain it. And maybe they're going through deconstruction and they don't know it because they've never had the term given to them. Maybe you are the evangelist here.
I think there's always an opportunity to self-disclose in a way that feels safe and good to you. Mm-hmm. Say, I've been reading this or thinking this, or and the number of times people will meet you halfway and say either, oh, what is that? And you can read people's curiosity, right? Typically. So if you're sitting with your friend and you share, hey, like, I really enjoyed whatever, or I read whatever, and then you get a feedback from them. Mm-hmm. I think the thing that I heard in the email that was interesting to me is you don't actually have control over how they experience what you're asking them. You are not going to re-traumatize them by asking them a question. Typically, unless it's a question that doesn't hold curiosity and is a statement.
Yeah, right? if you go in there and say, hey, did you leave the church because you wanted to have sex with someone that the Bible said you couldn't? That might be a little much.
But if you go in and say, why did you leave your church?
Or maybe don't even ask it, just like, so like, like that church we grew up in, how about that, huh? How weird is that?
Or something like, do you have spiritual practices that are like bringing you joy right now? Or you share, again, sharing from yourself is not, and I think sometimes I don't want to dominate the conversation, but I think it's an okay place to say, like, his whole thing of saying in my experience is actually not the problem. It's the way that it was used. But I think if we begin with, this is where I am at, you don't have to reveal too much. Again, reveal to the point where you feel safe and good. And then you invite the person in. Right?
Yeah. And I'll say like 9 times out of 10, it's just, I mean, if you haven't talked to them in a while, maybe just reach out and say, hey, how are you?
Invite them to coffee. I'm just kidding. That's like, if you're not a church person, guys, that is like, if any church person invites you to coffee. Yeah.
It's like, but you have to understand though, if a nice man asks you to coffee, and he's not a Christian, he just means that he wants to get coffee with you.
I'm usually afraid he's going to tell me something that I did wrong in my work. So,
I mean, I hope that people will continue to do that, Sarah, because as a woman, you need to be kept in your place, honestly.
Oh, you're so right. Yeah, thanks for being curious about me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Listen, I just try to be a biblical man,
Yeah, I'm just over here being a Proverbs 31 woman.
Yeah, submissive. No, just kidding. But yeah.
Laughs at the future.
I always laugh at the future, mostly because I'm just nervous because I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, so Tallulah, reach out to your friend. What's the worst that can happen? Turns out that they're a churchy asshole. No harm, no foul.
Better to know.
Yeah, and then also, like, you just, get curious. Like Jonathan Van Ness on his podcast. Let's just also, Jonathan Van Ness, I know you're not listening, but when you are listening, I love you.
Yeah, we all love you.
I love you more than everybody.
I was once on a date where a guy, I was asking him about like deconstructionist things because I was fascinated that they would want to go on a date with me as a pastor. I was like, okay, well, what's wrong with you? And so like I sat there and I was asking him all these questions about like, so like your faith shift and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, yeah, no, not really. Like he had zero angst about it. And I was like, I don't think we're going to work.
Wait, so his faith had not shifted? He wasn't...
He just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Everyone seems upset about it. I don't really know.
Yeah. Well, so was he like still conservative or like what was his deal?
I mean, that was the thing. I couldn't get to the bottom of it.
He would not self-disclose. Maybe Sarah, you were not a safe place for him. You know?
I don't think I was. I
Do you ever
also
think?
that,
You ever think? Oh, okay, here's the other thing. I will say, like, you and me are, because this is like,
yeah,
wow.
you're about to say something really offensive. I can't wait. Go.
I'm not. I'm not gonna say it offensively. I'm gonna select my words carefully. This is something that Levon Proverbs Briggs said to me in an interview. She said that a lot of times that when you are free, your freedom will offend the people who are still
Yeah.
bound.
Yeah.
And so, maybe your freedom offended him. And like some people are just boring. That's another option too. Maybe he was just a boring guy.
Yeah, it was the only time I've ever gone on a date from a app. And the second time I'd ever done that.
Well, that I will say that there are a lot of really bad dates you're about to go on, Sarah. I'm just gonna let you have that. Well, on that note, I do have a question for the audience this week. So this new thing we want to try out, just to get a little engagement from everyone here, is we would love, if you're watching live, leave this in the comments. And if you are listening later on Monday, please send us your answers to askyourfavoriteants@gmail.com. Question of the week is, what are you doing about pandemic post-dating if you're a single person? How are you getting back out there? What creative ideas do you have? And also, what's your non-negotiable? What's your thing that you're not like, yeah. What's something that after last year, you're like, you know what, I am never going to go, like for me, my non-negotiable is I am not going to go on a date. I'm not going to date anybody who doesn't have a spiritual practice of their own. I just know for me, I need them to like be there with, they don't need to believe the same shit I do. They just need to like, get into that. And Jeff says it's a valid question for couples too. So yeah, couples.
It's how are you guys going to be in the world now that you're adding more people into your sphere? How are you going to maintain that connection you've gained if that's the thing that you've gained? Couples, how does your partnership look different post-pandemic?
Yeah, but also discuss amongst yourself. We don't care. As single people, F off. I'm just kidding. I love you
That
so
is not true. Most of my humans in my life are partnered.
Well, fuck them.
They're partnered.
Oh, whatever. Anyways, thank y'all. This is we are now at the end of the show because we like to keep it around an hour before we get off the phone and then call each other literally on FaceTime afterwards so we can dissect what we did or something.
Worse.
Yeah. Anyways, that's the end of our show. Sarah, is there anything you want to promote right now coming up in your life? Things you're doing?
I would just really like to say I want you to buy tickets for Wonderfully Made.
Yes. Boom, boom, boom.
For the dates that I'm doing, but also just across the country. It's going to be amazing. I'm excited about that. Check out working on a revamp of my work. RevSarahHeath.com is going to have a little revamp in the next couple of weeks.
Cute.
Get excited for the announcement next week about what's going on in my life. But
your extra thing that you can't say but is mysterious and fun.
Literally,
as someone who signed the NDA, I think I signed it. Did I sign an NDA?
I told you audibly.
Good enough. Anyways, I can tell you that it's very exciting. So, be ready.
Yeah, just keep following me on. Thank you so much for all of you. I posted a thing about mental health, and I've had a whole week of like people just being so great. It's been really a difficult thing for me to disclose having ADHD and OCD. And the more people who have been really rad about it, I just super appreciate it. Like I had people contact me and tell me that, hey, I showed this to my kid who doesn't think they'll succeed because they have ADHD. Another one said, hey, my son has severe OCD, and now for the first time, I think maybe he'll have a life beyond it. So,
dang. See this, Sarah, this is why I tell you all the time just to tell the truth about everything. Because, like, what's really embarrassing?
I know,
subtweeting your friend and then having them text you, is this about me? That's embarrassing.
Okay, but the truth of the matter is, as a woman, I always was told I wouldn't be partnered if I was like not small enough to like a small enough thing that like, and the truth is, yeah, no one has ponied up to it. But the more I am me, the truth of the matter is they never could have handled me before anyway. So
that's because you couldn't even. Yeah, that's the thing. Oh, this is a word for me. It's like, People definitely couldn't handle me before because I couldn't handle me before. And now I can,
Okay.
and I do with grace. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Okay, so what about you? What are some things you can promote as we sign off?
Yes, please go buy tickets to Wonderfully Made. I'm going on tour across the country. You can go to thekevingarcia.com/tour to find
Also,
out.
cute merch.
Lots of cute merch that is going to coming out with that. If you're watching this live, the sale ends tomorrow, so like go get some merch at thekevingarcia.com/merch. What's the other thing? Tour merch. I'm doing this thing called the Summer Coven. And what that is going to be is a 90-day journey where you're going to be working within a small cohort of people to work on your spiritual practice for an entire 90 days so that by the end of it, you are going to know how to do your spiritual life and how to teach it to other people. So that's at thekevingarcia.com. Click on Summer Coven. Sign up today. Space is limited. I'm doing a series with the liturgists where I am teaching on A Course in Miracles Thursday nights for the next 5 more weeks. I started last night. That's in the liturgist
Good
community.
Lord, you've got so much stuff going on.
Girl, I said yes to too much.
Eat that spaghetti. All right, call me, FaceTime me. We love you. Make good decisions.
Call
Thank
your
you for
person.
joining us.
Take your meds. Shake your
person.
ass. You know, take shrooms. But just kidding.
No, don't take shrooms.
Only
unless
take them with you with a
do.
friend. Take them with a friend
Okay.
under supervision, but only if you know you're going to be okay. That's my advice. What?
Okay.
Don't take my advice. I'm not good at this. Take my other advice. That's good advice. All right.
Have a wonderful day. Thanks
Goodbye,
for joining us,
everyone. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Good night. Make a decision.